So we've been talking this morning, haven't we, about the extension of funded childcare places. This is an expansion of a current scheme. It'll offer working parents in England 15 hours of funded weekly childcare for two-year-olds crucially during school term time.
Yes, but while the government hopes the rollout will help parents return to work, some critics claim there are not enough places to meet demand. We're joined now by the Education Secretary, Gillian. Keegan, morning to you. We're going to talk about this in just a moment because I know this is an important announcement for you today, but I just want to start with our lead story that a British national, it's been confirmed, has been killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. Just getting your initial reaction to that news.
Well, I mean, obviously we haven't had it confirmed yet, but we are very, very concerned by the situation. Actually, I think, we do know that we've urged Israel to do more to protect civilians, but also to allow aid to get into Gaza. But we haven't yet had this confirmed, and I think the IDF are reviewing this probably as we speak.
We do know that the person that we're talking about was working for a charity which has been distributing food in Gaza. That charity has now had to suspend work in the area. How worrying is that news? We know that is at least confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, it is worrying. I mean, obviously, one of the key things is trying to make sure that we get more aid into Gaza. So if one of the charities working on the ground has suspended, then that's obviously deeply concerning. But the whole situation is concerning. What we've been doing is, urging Israel to do more to protect civilians, but also to make sure that we can get that aid into Gaza. It's really vital, and we know that there's a situation that's been unfolding there for a period of time now, which is deeply, deeply concerning. So, but obviously our thoughts would go to everybody affected.
Let's talk about the subject that you're on our programme to talk about this morning, which is this 150,000 children now being able to take up funded places in nurseries. Now, that's the number of children who are eligible. Do you have the number from today who actually have secured funded places?
That's the number that we expect to have secured funded places by the end of this week. So we have a system where parents register and then they get validated code from the nursery, which means they have a place they can take up. So we expect that to be the number of families that will benefit from this increased offer that we have for childcare, for free childcare places for two-year-olds, so 15 hours free. And that will build, obviously, in September 2024 to 15 hours for under twos. And then by September 2025, the whole policy is rolled out to mean that there's free childcare from 9 months old until you start school. And that will save working families about £6,900 a year.
So that 150,000, you expect to be able to announce that by the end of the week. When you come to those further announcements, the broadening of the scheme...
I've said by early April, so
Right.
in the next sort of few days.
OK. When it comes to those other announcements you just mentioned, how many more children will that affect?
Well, it's a demand-led system, so it will depend on how many parents register for the code. We work with local authorities all across the country to make sure that we can respond to this, to make sure we've got a sufficiency of places. We've done this before. We rolled this out for 3- and 4-year-olds. It's something that we've delivered in the past. But of course, it's a demand-led system, and we are building the capacity for this rollout, and we think there's sufficiency of places. And then we'll obviously be getting to work on building the next rollout for September 2024.
We've heard from the Early Years Alliance here on the programme who have said this. This phase that we're in now of the rollout is actually the easiest phase of the government's childcare scheme. Many parents are actually just shifting their situation. So you might be covering children now who are already in childcare, already have a nursery place, and the way they're funded is just shifting. The challenges are actually going to come further down the line, aren't they?
Well, we have deliberately staged this programme so that we start with 2-year-olds and then we go to under 2, 15 hours, and then we roll the whole lot out to 30 hours. And we've deliberately done that to make sure that it is deliverable.
Are there enough staff?
Yes, we have 13,000 more staff than we had last year. And of course, we've been working on, as well as securing the rates and making sure that the funding's secure for the next 2 years, we've also been working on a lot of policies to make sure that we build more routes into the system and to make sure that we have more people being trained into the system. This is all something that we obviously have to roll out, but I'm very confident the thing that is could most impact this system rollout is if Labour got into power, because they've said they will not continue with free childcare, which is something that we believe is really important.
First of all, that's not true. I would also just point out, we have had Labour on the programme this morning. They were interviewed and spoke about this. So we're not talking about Labour, we're talking about government policy right now. I just want to share...
well, actually, they did say they would stop this policy. They said they wouldn't continue to roll it out.
They said this morning they were going into consultation.
Depending on when an election is. Well, going into consultation is not committing to deliver.
It's not
something.
saying they're not doing it, though, either, is it?
This is 6,900. They have said on Newsnight last week, they said they were not going to do it.
Right, OK,
so
we're here to talk about your policy.
Model.
You are Education Secretary.
By the way, I
so let's talk about your policy, shall we?
I looked at all of the models. Yes, absolutely. And we looked at all the models. There's only so many ways you can do this. You can look around the world, you look at all the models. We looked at the models and we decided that the hours-based system was actually the simplest to roll out, and it was also the best one to make sure that that advantage, that money, that government investment got to parents. And now we're delivering it, and we will have sufficiency of places. I mean, they tried to tear down our plans because they don't have a plan. We have a plan, and it will deliver.
OK, let's not talk about them, because we've spoken to them. Let's talk about you as Education Secretary.
Now.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but I've got to move on, because we have a point here from somebody who's written in, a viewer who's written in. I would really like to share their point with you. This is from Victoria in Nottinghamshire. She says, I work in a preschool. We're on the brink of closure. The government has totally let us down. This funding is not financially viable for nurseries and preschools. There aren't enough preschools and nursery. This is why. It will also be hard to recruit. It's a difficult job. The pay is not good. I could work in a supermarket and be on more money. The more I learn about the education and social care sector, the more I learn about the lack of money. This is letting children down. So let's answer Victoria in Nottinghamshire, who's actually in the industry. What would you say to her?
I would say that the rates that we've put out for 2-year-olds and under 2-year-olds are higher than actually average of parents are paying today. So we're funding roughly about £2 higher per hour for 2-year-olds and under 2-year-olds. A lot of the discussions and a lot of the comments are coming in, I think, based on previous, when they didn't have these new funding. We put the new funding in place at the end of November. Local authorities put it out in the early part of this year. We confirmed just in the budget that we were going to increase those rates for the next 2 years. All of that uncertainty about funding has been taken away in the last few months. We put the rates out, I think, at the end of November. So it is going to be a massively improved.
Let's be certain about that funding.
We are funding this from £4 billion to £8 billion. That's an extra £4 billion. Now, that will go direct into the industry, and no one could say that that's not going to make a difference.
Does it fully fund all the places? Does the funding fully fund all of those places that you're talking about?
Yeah, we've worked with 9,000 businesses to make sure that we get this right, to make sure that we have the funding. We have worked with 9,000 businesses to make sure that what we offer with the so just so you know what we offer, under 2s is about £11.22. This is the government's rate, so obviously they can differ slightly across the country. For 2-year-olds, it's £8.28, and for 3 and 4-year-olds, it's £5.88. So they're the funded rates. We've worked with 9,000 businesses to make sure we put that put together something which will ensure we have a sustainable industry. Of course, we're professionals. We want to make sure that when we say we're going to pledge to a policy, we deliver it, like we have done for 3 and 4-year-olds. We'll deliver for 2-year-olds, we'll deliver for under 2, and then the massive increase, which will come in September 2025, we will make sure that we can roll that out.
Do you guarantee that when that expands, all the children who need a place will find a place?
So this is a demand-led system working through local authorities, through about 60,000 businesses. But we are doing everything we can, including putting the funding security in place and working with the workforce and putting a national campaign together to make sure the places are there. As of early April, I know that 150,000 families will benefit from this scheme because they have already registered and they've got their places available. So this is we will be able to see You know, how many people register, how many people get their places. We're doing this professionally. We're making sure that we're working all across the country to make sure that we build the capacity to cope with the demand. But it is a demand-led system.
For working parents, being offered 15 hours childcare per week, is that enough? If you're trying to hold a family together and support a family financially, you probably need to work more than 15 hours a week. Many people would say that 15 hours is simply not enough.
Well, that's why we're offering 30 hours from when you're 9 months old, child's 9 months old, until they start school. We're delivering it in phases to make sure that we can grow the capacity and grow the workforce. That's why we're delivering it in phases. But the full pledge, which is a Conservative Party pledge, is the Conservative government pledge, is that your child from 9 months old up until they start school will be entitled to 30 hours free childcare a week for 38 weeks of the year. That is a pledge that we've made. I do not believe that Labour have said they will continue with that rollout. So I do believe that is the biggest risk to the policy and the biggest
Gillian,
risk
Keegan,
to parents.
I'm just going to correct you there. We've had them on already this morning. That's not what they said to us here on air this morning. Gillian Keegan, Education Secretary.
You listen to the
Thank
Newsnight.
you very much.
Listen to Newsnight.
Indeed. Thank you.